Out to the Oklahoma River. They land in the fish pools. Then they fly back up here, land in our canal with fish eggs stuck on their feet and in their tail feathers. And when they shake them off, all of a sudden, we've got perch, we've got catfish, mostly channel cats. And after 4 or 5 years of no one fishing for them, they can get pretty big. Whenever we're not looking, some people put their old pets in here, so we have koi and goldfish swimming around sometimes. Every time we drain our canal, we do have to call in the wildlife department. They help us relocate all the fish back to the river. I told a little kid about putting the pets in here last week, and he looked horrified. He goes, "I thought you were talking about cats and dogs." And I said, no, just pet fish. Just pet fish. I don't ever recommend fishing or swimming in our canal for a few reasons. One, don't do it in front of a police officer because they can write you a ticket for it. But two, I don't want to swim in here because there is a snapping turtle that lives down there, and I don't know where he's at. It's a big canal, but I don't want to lose a toe, I'm just saying. But about 3 years ago, we did have a pretty mean cold storm come through for our area anyway. And we had a week or two of sub-zero temperatures, not very common for here. We had about a foot of ice on the canal. So the local college hockey players saw an opportunity to escape that canal. People were looking out here wondering, are they breaking the law? What's going on? Cop said, well, they never really got in the water, did they? They stayed up on top of the water, right? That's gross up. Yeah, I knew that storm was bad when I was looking at snow on the beaches in Galveston. I said, holy cow. That's right. My goodness. Okay. Over here to our right, only 3 are known to be indigenous to this area before 1800. By 1829, 8 more tribes had migrated here on their own accord. But then in 1830, with the passage of the Indian Removal Bill by Andrew Jackson, we end up having 28 more tribes forcefully relocated here on the Trail of Tears. And if you want to know more about Native American history and culture, I highly recommend going 1 mile east to the First Americans Museum. Top-notch facility. It's a Smithsonian affiliate museum. It's really cool.
Is that what's the building by the state capitol? Is that a museum? It says something like history. Remember we saw last night?
They should do that now.
Now, they broke the land up into smaller parcels that had plots of about 160 acres.
What year was that?
1889. Whenever that cannon went off, people would run out. And the goal was to ride to the middle of one of these plots, and you'd pull the flag out that was there, and you'd put your flag in its place. And the flag you pulled out would have coordinates on it, and you'd take it to the land grant office and pay a filing fee of $14. Today's money, it'd be about $465 US for 160 acres. So in today's money, it'd be about, just under $3 an acre. And when the cannon went off, you went riding whatever you could as fast as you could.
And that included the mineral rights.
Mm-hmm. It included everything.
That's
the first time in Oklahoma history that women were able to gain land in their name here in this territory. And every nationality was actually allowed to ride in this land run except for Native Americans.
Wow. Because it really belonged to
The
them.
full scope of all these statues, it is the largest collection of black bronze statues in the United States. Wow. All done by the same artist. His name is Paul Moore. And he is the artist in resident at the University of Oklahoma in Norman. Took him 20 years to accomplish this. He never put more than 2 or 3 statues in per year. Total of 45 statues. It's supposed to represent what it could have been maybe 20 seconds after the cannon went off. A lot of really neat detail in these. Wow. Built everything to 1.5 times life size. You get a chance to walk around the statues. There's some really neat details in these. We know 50,000 on that end of a horse, and that is a raw deal. I don't think the juice is worth the squeeze on that one. 4th place, but at what cost? My goodness. Off in the distance over here on the far right, that's the boathouse district. It's where the universities keep their schools for rowing and crew. Over there on the far right, you also see a tall tower. That tall tower is the tallest dry slide in America over at Riversport Outdoor Adventure. They have a lot of neat things over there. They got a surfing pool. You can do indoor skiing, tubing. You can do kayaking, canoeing right over there. 4 months ago, we hosted the Olympic trials for kayaking and canoeing right there. Well, We found out himself, Paul Moore. He wanted to be the most photographed guy in his work, so that was the first statue he put in, self-portrait. He also wanted to honor his mother, so she is on the left side of the canal, riding side saddle in the middle. And he ended up honoring 3 or 4 more family members by putting their faces on different characters all throughout the collection. And he wanted a famous Oklahoman next to him over here, so he put Will Rogers on a horse here on the right side. Early 20th century, one of Hollywood's highest paid actors. Humorist, champion of rope tricks, and famous for saying, "I never met a man I didn't like." You also see some of that chaos of the day up there with the horse that's fallen. See the guy that's lost his hat.
Oh, yeah.
The dog running next to the wagon weighs 600 pounds. See a mother riding with her baby. And on the other side of that mother, there's actually a farmer, and he's riding a farm horse with no saddle and no shoes. You can see his toes through the legs of the fallen horse. He's supposed to represent someone who maybe had $14 and a horse to his name, and that was it. But if he could ride fast enough, by the end of that day, he might have 160 acres. Now, I mentioned those MAPS programs earlier. So come the 80s, a lot of people were avoiding this area. Not a great area to come to.
My purse over there. No, it's right in front of you.
We were losing business to other cities and other states, and the city leaders agreed that we needed to do something about it. We said, man, we got to clean this area up. Fast forward. Back then we had one restaurant in Bricktown, and that was it. We had a restaurant, and we had a haunted house at Halloween, and that was it. And the only scary part of the haunted house is walking to your car when it was over with. The mayor at the time, Ron North, he suggested a 1-cent sales tax. And along with the leadership, they got it put to a vote. Wasn't a very popular idea at first, but it did end up passing when it went to vote, 54% approval. And over the next 5.5 years, we would collect nearly $350 million. And we would build the baseball park, we built this canal, and we built the Paycom Center with the OKC Thunder play. We have a lot of concerts. We built all the projects, interest-free, debt-free. And the city liked that. They said, man, that's a good idea to raise the money and then spend it.
Much better idea.
So let's keep that. We still have that tax going today, but not because it is stuck in perpetuity. It's because we have voted on it 3 more times since 1999, and we keep approving each time. They call it vast for its vast views of the city. We're so flat here in Oklahoma, when you're up there, you can easily see for 30 miles. It is a fine dining restaurant in the evening. A little bit of a dress code, need reservations, etc. But if you ever want to go up and you want to experience it, and you don't want to break the bank, go grab a lunch up there sometime. $25 lunch buffet. Same chefs as at night, same views but in the daytime, no dress code, no reservations required. One of the better deals in downtown.
Thanks for that tip. That was a good tip.
Yeah.
We'll do it next time we come.
So we do like those MAPS projects now. One thing that did almost keep them from getting up and off the ground was April 19th, 1995. That was the OKC bombing. That was a really hard time for the city and the state. The leaders agreed it wasn't a time to build, but a time to grieve, so they postponed all the projects for 2 years. We resumed in 1997. Coming out of the S-turns on my Sonic.
There's
Copy that.
Keith.
If you get a chance to go over to the memorial, I highly recommend it. The memorial is free. It's open 24 hours a day.
Oh, the bombing memorial.
The museum does cost. It closes at 6 p.m. It's a little heavy, but they definitely do a good job honoring the 168 victims that day, as well as the families that are still affected. If you'd like to take our streetcar over, it picks up by the ballpark, and one of the stops is the memorial, but it's a $1 ride each way. It's a $3 24-hour pass. I can show you where that picks up over by the ballpark when we get back around there. Pronounced all our little town names correctly. I was like, there we go. And that's an easy one to mispronounce. For the locals there. So I brought up the Devon Tower. That is the tallest building in Oklahoma, but I would be remiss if I did not bring up the newly proposed tower. So there is a developer out of LA that wants to put a new building in here. He calls it the Legacy Tower. Now, if he builds it, it will be 150 yards from where we sit right now, just on the other side of our Centennial building.